What's up, everyone? Bear vs. Wolf here. I'm going to make a little session from scratch in Pro Tools, and you can follow along with what I do here. And hopefully this will give you some tips, pointers, how to run Pro Tools, how to track instruments live. And I have no idea what it's going to sound like yet, and we'll find out together. Here we go. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that Pro Tools is up. We're going to go to File, Create New Session. So you see Pro Tools up here, Create New. And I have kind of some templates set up. We're going to skip that, and I'm just going to call it Pro Tools starter session. And you have a lot of options here on how you want to do things. You have template groups and stuff, which are all kinds of different, basically preset templates that you can figure out how to make those yourself. It's not that hard to do on other YouTube videos. I'm going to skip that for now. I usually use one starter tracking template down here, but I'm going to go with not a template, and just, I guess I got to retitle it, Pro Tools Session from Scratch. Okay, and then you have some selectors down here, file types, all this stuff. So I go with Wave all the time. It's kind of a standard. I leave it there. Bit depth. I won't go into what these are, but 24-bit is where I leave it, and you have to do a process to change this later in the session. We're going to skip over that for now too. Sample rates are, if you don't know, the times per second that Pro Tools takes a snapshot of your audio. So basically, the higher the sample rate, the better performance or the better audio you are technically, theoretically going to get. But it adds CPU drag on your computer. So for me, I have found that 88.2 does sound a little bit better. You go higher, 192, even more, but you have to have an incredibly powerful computer to handle those sample rates. So I leave it on 44.1, especially for this video. 24-bit good. Settings, I/O settings. Last used is whatever you last used. I go stereo mix just to make sure that it's, you can see all these things down here. I have an 11 rack. You have other options for other Avid interfaces and stuff like that. I'm not going to use the 11 rack today, I don't think. So I'm going to go with stereo mix. I use, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I use an Apollo Twin from Universal Audio. Works for me, sounds fantastic, so I go with that. All right, location. This is crucial. You want to make sure you know where stuff is going. So I use an external hard drive. If you don't know about that, you should probably record your audio to an external drive. A lot of people get away with recording to the internal drive on their CPU, which or on their computer, rather. And these days it seems like it works pretty well, but old school is kind of you keep your audio on an external drive, so that's what I do. So I have one labeled here, Mac Pro Tools, and I have all kinds of stuff here, but Pro Tools Sessions, I put everything in Sessions in one folder. I am using YouTube, I use a folder called YouTube Audio to keep all the audio for YouTube videos that I do, and here they are. So I'm going to use this folder, YouTube Audio, to use. That's it. Location is telling it where you're going to save, which is important because you want to know where your stuff is when you're done. And then you can click Show on Startup or not. That's just going to show this dialog. Recent and projects and some other stuff. Recent is obviously stuff you've worked on recently. So moving on, create, boom. Now, you have nothing here. You can do nothing at this point. So, in other words, you can't record any audio yet. So we got to make some tracks. So we go up to track, right? If you're not familiar at all with the interface, I'm not going to go into super basics. I'm just going to work, and hopefully you'll learn from that. So here we go. new track, you can tell it how many you want, and then we'll get into these. I'm going to make, let's say, 4 mono stereo, if you don't know what that is. Left-right stereo, mono, you don't have left and right. Audio tracks means you're going to record your guitar, you're going to record your voice, etc. Samples and ticks has to do with kind of the way Pro Tools breaks up the files. I leave it on samples. Someone more advanced than me can tell you what the difference is there. I believe it's to do more with like working with video, but or MIDI, I'm not sure. Anyways, plus we're going to add some other types of tracks. I'm going to make 2 stereo. You have a lot of options here: aux input, master faders, VCA master, all this stuff. I'm going to make a couple instrument tracks because I record my drums, as you'll see, using MIDI. So that's it for now. Ticks, samples, that's coming up as ticks. We'll let it do the thing. Maybe samples, yeah. Ticks. Sure. Well, I'm going to keep these the same. Right, so we'll go with that. Okay, add some more. I want a... we're going to skip that for now and just hit create. Oh, and one more thing. We're going to add a stereo master fader, okay? And basically, if you don't know, MIDI tracks handle keyboard stuff. As you'll see, my drums are going to be done with MIDI, and anything basically digital. It's not recording your voice with a microphone. Instrument tracks are basically combining, aux and MIDI tracks kind of in one, and so I use an instrument track for that. You'll see why in a minute here. So instrument tracks, and then a master fader. Okay, so we're going to hit create. You can see everything pop up here. So you have 2 windows. If you go to Windows, you will see Mix and Edit. If I click on Edit, if I click on Mix, the Mix window comes to the front, and if you click on Mix again, it would go to the back, or Edit, right? So there are 2 windows. If I pull this over, you'll see that it will cover the other one. So there's basically 2 windows you can use. Mix comes to the front. There we go. So if you had them, your Pro Tools might default to it taking up the whole entire screen like that. There's a key command. Command equals on a Mac will, as you can see, make the edit window and mix window shift. I believe what it does is brings the mix window up. Right? So now you can see all of your tracks. If you make it go away, you can see the edit window. So I like to be able to see both at once, and so I kind of fold this back, click on that window, and fold this over this way, like that. If you have 2 monitors, kind of cool. You can set the edit on one, put the mix on the other. Works great. I have one, so this is how I do it. And then here's one more thing. So I'm going to create, if you go to track, down at the bottom on track, it says create click track. Click track is what keeps your music in time, if you don't know. So we, and you notice over here in the mix window, the click has come up. So if I hit play, nothing's happening yet, but the click is in the inserts now, right? So you can set the BPM and all this good stuff as you go. Now I probably have it set up here. If you go into setup and go to click count off, you're going to see a little window pop up. And I have it set up to click only during the count off, which means before you record audio. So I'm going to set it back to play and record. And down here it's a count off. That's giving you how many bars you want to hear before you start a recording. It's good to get yourself in, in time before you click or before you record. So Only during record. Let's see. Only during record. Oh, count off only during record. Yeah, so if you want to count off only while you record and not while you play, that's a good thing to do. So 2 bars is good. All right. And the rest of this is just, you can accent the click on 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, stuff like that. So anyways, boom. And now we have a click track, which you should be able to hear. All right, so we're back in business. I wanted to make sure my audio was working. So when I hit play, you now hear a click track. So lots of ways to do drums in Pro Tools. The way I do it is like this. I have 2 instrument channels. I'm going to call this drums. And you need to control, I'm going to do this via MIDI. And you need to control, you could bring in loops, you could do all kinds of stuff, but the way I do it is like this. I use a plugin under instruments called Addictive Drums 2. I'll turn on some stuff here. Wow. Sorry, my drums were off. So, now they're back on. Here we are in Pro Tools. We're going to use this plugin to get the audio sounds. So you hear a kick drum when you click on these. All that. So what's happening is, if you look up here where my mouse is, oh sorry, the MIDI's not coming in yet. This is just the audio of the drums. But the way I trigger this, if I get a stick here, is with drums. It might not be plugged in as well. So you can see the troubleshooting happen as we go. I need to plug in something to make that happen. Here we go. So when you're doing this kind of stuff, troubleshooting happens all day long. You gotta learn to figure stuff out and move through it. So now, when I hit these drums, it makes a sound in Pro Tools. So I have a rolling kit with a head that has a MIDI output. You take a cable, and you need to have a MIDI interface to get that information into your computer. I use my 11 rack for that. Not DigiDesign anymore, it's Avid 11 rack. For that. So that's why when I hit the drum, we get drums. You can see that in the program now. So I'm going to close this. You have options for kits. I'm not going to go through them because we're not doing an addictive drums thing here. So when I hit play, we hear a click track. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So the way to do that is go to Window, Transport. Now over here it says Command 1. If I hit Command 1, the window pops up, or you can just click on it. Works that way too. Boom, boom, right? Easy peasy. So you have some options here. This is how you play, stop. In Pro Tools, if you just hit the space bar, it plays. Enter or return will take you back to the beginning of the session. We have some options set up. I'm actually going to turn Quick Punch off right now. You might see the little loop around this. I'm going to right click on that, turn loop off for now. And now it's just play, stop. Loop will loop around clips, I think they call them, in here. So we're going to track some drums. But first, I want to, I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So you do that here. You double click or just click on it and type in a number. The click is now slower, and that's what I wanted to do. The song I'm thinking about is maybe that. I have no idea what I'm going to record yet, but we go with that. Again, if you want to change it, all kinds of things. This number down here is this conductor track. You notice when I click that, it goes back to 120. So that is an important thing because sometimes you don't have control over this. If I hit 85, this will take over. So you gotta be careful with that. But anyways, if I hit this, the click won't sound. Turn back on, the click will sound, right? That's basically it for now. We'll leave that on. So, enter, I've got a click track. Okay, so I'm ready to record. My sounds are set up. Now, in order to record anything, you have to put arm the track, they call it. So, click, record. Now I got drums. If I don't click record, right, I don't get anything. So, the drums are MIDI coming into 11 rack, coming into the plug-in, and now, when I look up at this window, underneath my cursor, you see there's something there. That's MIDI information being transmitted. I just leave it on all. You can tell it to come from the 11 rack, which is where my MIDI is coming in. Just leave it on all. You get all the MIDI information. Now it's coming in. That is going to Addictive Drums. You can see that right here. If I hit none, you don't get anything. So you have to make sure that this is set up. This all pretty much automatically happens. But if you have any issues, that can help you figure stuff out. So channel 1 is fine. Alright, so you can choose from channels. You could set the channels, but just put it on one, you're good for now. As long as this is set up to our section. Alright, we're good. We want drum sounds. So, I have no idea what we're going to do. Okay, so in order to start a recording, on a Mac you can just hit 3 on the number control, not on the top. You have to use the number pad. So now you can see Pro Tools is recording stuff. If I hit the drums, it will have recorded stuff. Right? Alright. We're not going to use that. That's not what I want. I think we're good. And now, when I hit record, by the way, you hear 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2. And then it starts. Because we set it up back in the count off. If you go back to the transport window, to count off for 2 bars before it records, right? And those are the settings. So that's the way it's going to work. The other way you can record stuff is by hitting record, and then you have to hit play, right, for it to go. It's called record ready, and then you have to hit play to do that. Hitting 3 does that both in one command. So, here we go. I hit record. I'm going to get 2 bars of click, and then I'm going to step over the drums and record something. So if you look into the session, it kind of left some space at the top. Here's the zoom tool. I like to zoom, just drag, zoom around what you're looking to work with. And over here, these little sliders, or these rulers, I think they're called, you can make each track bigger. So I'm going to click on I click on the stuff that I'm working with, make it really big. That way I can see what I'm doing. So you're going to see right there, we had MIDI information get recorded. you can make that better by what's called quantizing it. I can do that, show you that in a minute. The great thing about MIDI is now all those drum sounds, I can edit all of that. So if I go back into my plugin here and go to kits, let's see, so you click on this window here. I can change now to a different drum set. And now my drums sound completely different, right? So that's why MIDI is beautiful. If you do all this stuff with audio, you're stuck with the drum sounds you have, which in some cases is good, in some cases not so good. So that's the beautiful part with the MIDI. So I'm noticing, first of all, that it's not exactly lined up with the click track. And so we can fix that. We go to this MIDI edit window, and I'm going to use, if you're not familiar, this is the editing tool that allows you to use a smart tool, I think. And, if you have this guy, it's only going to let you drag stuff. If you have this guy, it's only going to let you select stuff. If you have this guy, it's only going to let you grab the entire thing and move it around. So if you click up here, that allows you to do all of those, drag, select, and use the hand tool all at once. It just depends on where your cursor is. You can see on top it's there, on the bottom it's a hand, over here it's a drag. So you get everything at once. You do have to change with search. You can do this with the F keys on the top. You can select through them, hit F, whoops. Of the F keys, there you go. F5 gives me the this guy, F6, F7, F8, There's quick key experts out there. I'm going to turn this back to normal zoom for that. Okay, so now you can drag in and drag out, whatever. So it's a little bit off the click, which I could go back and re-record, and normally I probably would. But since it's MIDI, you can see right here is where the kick drum is supposed to be on beat 1. So since it's MIDI, again, I can just drag this kick drum and put it where it needs to be. Right? So I was a little bit late. It depends on what you're after. If you want it to be exactly gridded, if your drumming's not so great, whatever. If you did it with a keyboard, you can do this all with a keyboard, by the way, or with a little LPD8 I have. I don't have it next to me, but you can tap in the sounds. You could draw them in. I'll show you on the computer. If you hit your pencil tool up here in the MIDI window, I can just draw a snare or a tom, whatever. I'm going to delete those. I don't want those. But if you, here's everything I just recorded. If you want this, it's close. It's got some groove to it. It's okay. I'm going to select everything I see. Okay, all of that. And down here there's some hi-hats. And go up to, I'm sure there's quick keys for this. I don't remember them off the top of my head. So, we need event. You go to event, event operations, quantize. If you don't know what quantizing is, it's going to take all your MIDI and put it exactly where you may have wanted it to be. So I'm going to narrate the rest of this part here just to go over what we did. I lost some of the video. Basically just checking the quantization. Making sure that this stuff lines up to the grid. So you can see here I am moving around the kick drum. I believe I'm explaining the grid in the background here. Showing you how you can slide around the snare to where you might want it. Off the click there, now it's back on the grid.
showing you the bars and beats at the top. That would be beat 1. Showing you the quick keys here again. And then getting the MIDI editor. Showing you can double click with the hand to get the MIDI editor up and use it that way. So you click on quantize. There's a little option O you could use as well. But for now, just hit quantize. Showing you the little options there. You can quantize all kinds of different stuff. Leave it on quantize, you'll be fine. Basically going through the quantize window, explaining the different parts here. Quantizing it via to the whole note, to the half note, to the 16th, 32nd. And we went with 32nd notes first, kind of explaining this section. You can use a swing, not use a swing. That's just telling you, how straight the beats are going to be, straight eighth notes. So you can see all the notes move in the background there. And I think I undid this, hit apply, and then just showed the notes move again. So you can see how they move. And the 32nd note quantize was a little bit too strict. Didn't sound perfect. Didn't sound great at all. So I changed it back to the 16th note quantize. And there you go. Sounds much better. 8th note was too loose, wasn't tight enough. So it lost some of the syncopation that I had in the kick drum there. And we went back to 16th note. That's basically it. Did some funky stuff with the hi-hat too, but for today's purposes, no big deal. And that's pretty much that.
Alright, we're back. My camera overheated there, and this video is getting a little long already. So what I'm going to do is save this and make another video as we keep going, because we're already into, 30 minutes at this point. So we'll be back to track some bass and some guitar, maybe some vocals, some keyboards. And I guess this is going to be a series now. So that's video 1. Thanks for checking it out. Bear vs. Wolf here. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe. And this is what I do. So lots of different music content, reviews of gear, reviews of amps, stuff like that. So subscribe for more. We'll be back in the next video to track some bass and all that kind of stuff. Later.